सेव किया था ना?
मैं सिर्फ इसलिए गया था क्योंकि उसने मुझे कॉल किया, that's it. But listen तो.
Save it for someone else.
जिंदगी में सेव करना जरूरी है, मगर जब बात पैसों की हो, सिर्फ सेविंग से काम नहीं चलेगा। इक्विटी म्यूचुअल फंड्स में इन्वेस्ट कीजिए और अपने सेविंग्स को आगे बढ़ने का मौका दीजिए।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
The answer to the question, which is the most challenging state to govern in India, is easy. One look at the map of the country and we'd know it's tiny, Manipur, tiny, so tiny that it has a population of just about 3.5 billion people. For more than 2 months now, nobody's writ has run in the tiny border state except that of the rival mobs or armed bands currently at war with each other. The ruling party at the center, the BJP, is also the party in power in the state. And the high command in the BJP is as powerful as the Congress party's was at the Indira era peak. Does the writ of this omnipotent high command run in Manipur? Evidence suggests it doesn't. Take a close look at the tamasha playing out in Imphal this Friday, even as this column was being written. The failed Chief Minister and Biren Singh, who has seen the state burn under his watch and who wouldn't dare to visit his tribal hill districts, even to accompany his party stalwart and Union Home Minister Amit Shah, finally let word spread. I'm not saying he said it, but he let word spread that he was resigning. After letting the world know of his intention, he walked to the Raj Bhavan, resignation in hand, by which time a large and noisy mob of women from his Meiteis community had gathered there, beseeching him not to do so. In what has been packaged as high drama, one of the women snatched the resignation from one of his staff members and tore it. Pictures of the torn resignation were widely circulated on social media after it had been ritually trampled under the protesting women's feet. Biren Singh followed this up by tweeting that he wasn't resigning. How could he, when his people loved him so much? The act of the snatching, tearing, trampling and withdrawal of his non-resignation was as much of a fake, a choreographed act as his supposed offer to resign and the march to Raj Bhavan. At the end of the day, the BJP Chief Minister remained in his job. Never mind that his writ hasn't run in his own state for 2 months. What does it say for the BJP High Command's authority? If indeed it was the party High Command that wanted him to resign, he has conjured up the power of the mob to defy it. If it wasn't, then did he threatened to resign in defiance of the party bosses and then collected the mob to show how powerful he is? Either way, it makes his party's high command look powerless and short of ideas. Manipur remains where it has been these bloodied weeks, burning, violent, broken and angry. Biren Singh was not drawn from any ideological upbringing or training. He was a footballer and a good enough footballer as a defender to be recruited by the BSF, where he served and played for 14 years. He co-founded the so-called Democratic Revolutionary People's Party, DRPP. He was one of the 2 MLAs elected on this party's ticket in 2002, but merged his party with the Congress party soon afterwards. Later, with the Congress losing power at the center and the BJP's Human Resources Department out on the hunt for talent in the Northeast, he had no compunctions walking across. Not for him any ideological commitments or hesitations. Now, however, he has bared another side to his leadership: ethnic loyalty in a violently divided state. In the process, he has posed 2 important questions for his party. One, is it at peace having just the loyalty and affection of the Meiteis on the grounds of them being predominantly Hindu and leaving the Christian tribals angry? That's the conspiracy theory the tribals believe in, that it is no more than a ploy to polarize the state on Hindu-Christian lines. The second question, for how long are they as in the BJP, for how long are they willing to carry around their necks the albatross of this governance failure in one of their own states, especially when they take such pride in claiming their rise in the Northeast to be their greatest success story? The politics of identity, or more specifically Hindu-Muslim polarization, enabled the BJP to sweep Assam and Tripura twice in a row. The other states were acquired either through the political equivalent of a leveraged buyout of former Congress people in Arunachal Pradesh and Manipur, or through the old-fashioned big power, small power alliance, as in the case of Meghalaya, Mizoram, Nagaland and Sikkim. Local and regional autonomy may be a strong urge in the smaller tribal northeastern states, but each is too small to be at odds with the center. This arrangement had worked quite neatly so far, and the party was enjoying the fulfillment of the dream of governing the northeast it had specially cherished. The underlying idea was also that the region had been locked in a perpetual cycle of instability because of cynical and corrupt Congress politics. Two C's, cynical and corrupt. The BJP's political success in the Northeast was a remarkable shift in Indian politics, and we had noted it in a national interest piece of which I am sharing a link with you. That success is now deeply threatened in Manipur. While the BJP blamed the chronic crisis of the Northeast on the two C's, the Congress's cynicism and corruption, as we just noted, but it overlooked two things. One, if the Congress was so corrupt, how come all of the BJP's own leadership in the region had been borrowed from the Congress party, including Biren Singh? And second, it lazily forgot the third C. It's called complexity. Compared to what you confront in the Northeast, the familiar formulas of Hindu-Muslim or caste combinations of the Hindi heartland do not work in the tribal Northeast. No state exemplifies this more starkly than Manipur. That's why Manipur is the most difficult state to govern in all of India. To understand the challenge of governing Manipur, you can begin with history, geography, or demography. Let's begin instead from the here and now because it encompasses all these factors. Broadly, we have three ethnic groups in Manipur. The Meiteis, the Kuki group, which is a bunch of tribes, if depending on how you are counting, maybe 30 to 50 tribes, but generally accepted figure of 33. These are sub-tribes, small tribes, some tribes only numbering a few tens of thousands of people. So there is the Meiteis, the Kuki group and the Naga tribes. There are the Tangkhul Nagas, Mao Nagas, some other sub-tribes. Check out what the three groups want. Number one, Meiteis. Meiteis only want scheduled tribe status for themselves while retaining political preeminence in their own state, which they want intact. They don't want this state breaking up. Kukis next. Kukis want an autonomous region, even a semi-state, so they are no longer under a Meitei-dominated administration. And the Nagas might be keen to break away, but only from Manipur, not from India any longer. And they might want to join a larger Nagaland or Nagalim, as the negotiators of the NSCN led by Muiva are seeking from the center in their talks. To sum up, none of the three groups wants to secede from India. Yet each of the three is bristling with automatic firearms. Even if the security forces were to somehow capture or confiscate some, of which intentions so far there is no evidence. Even if the security forces manage to capture some weapons, there is an endless supply available. For the Kukis, it comes from across the border in Myanmar, and the Meiteis can just visit any police armory in Imphal Valley and pick up what they want. They are the ones who often leave their Aadhaar cards behind, as if to say, if they ask you who did it, tell them I was here. The biggest challenge for the security forces comes from the simple fact that none of the groups is seeking secession. How does the army treat them as enemies of the state or hostile, even anti-national, and open fire at them? This is a sizable complexity in Manipur. This is a predicament unprecedented in Indian history. Large contingents of the army's specialized, specially trained counter-insurgency corps, the 3rd or the Spear Corps based in Dimapur, are now deployed in Manipur, supported by several battalions of the CRPF and Assam Rifles. But they can't fight, they can't engage in combat. In Manipur now, with no forces designated as hostile, they are reduced to playing the role of, say, for simplicity, maybe I'm being overly simplistic, but for simplicity, the role of UN peacekeepers in a conflict zone. They avoid combat, they clear safe zones and neutral corridors and ensure the free movement of goods and supplies avoid all combat involving themselves. They do not fire at people flashing their weapons. Forget disarming them. For the most battle-hardened, specialized and successful counter-insurgency army in the world, this is an unfamiliar, first-time experience of dealing with the Northeast's deepest complexities, just as it is for the BJP politically.